We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. A new survey reveals many LGBTQ+, especially trans and non-binary people, are becoming less visible due to post-election fear.
Boston's Fenway Health ends hormone therapy for trans minors under 19 due to federal funding rules, sparking concern among families.
NBC News cuts 150 staff and dissolves its identity-focused teams, sparking concern over lost coverage of marginalized communities.
By 2050, climate change may displace 1.2 billion people, with LGBTQ+ communities facing greater risks, exclusion, and systemic neglect.
A new poll shows the majority of Republicans support state bans on conversion therapy, as the Supreme Court weighs a pivotal free speech case. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. In 2025, our queer stories have reached 11 million streaming views, and Queer News Tonight has been the most watched LGBTQ news and lifestyle show in the world this year.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, October 16th. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show. Hotspots Happening Out is one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community.
We support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community and want to inform and educate on the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience. Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary, with more than 11,000 LGBTQ streaming stories. We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fete. Our nonprofit 501c3 magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders will host this show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet today's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ publications and websites. Welcome, Gregg.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm so happy to be here. And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Jennifer McClain, a powerhouse entertainer for more than 20 years who has captivated audiences from Key West to Fire Island and beyond. Featured on CNN and in the film Big Easy Queens, she's a multi-award-winning singer and actor, celebrated as South Florida's favorite local celebrity and beloved performer on land and sea. Jennifer, Catch Me If You Can runs at Broward Center through October 26th. Tell us what's happening out.
The Slow Burn Theater Company is presenting the high-flying musical comedy Catch Me If You Can through October 26th at 7:30 p.m. at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. Directed by Patrick Fitzwater, with music by Mark Shaman and lyrics by Scott Whitman and Mark Shaman, the show captivates audiences with its dazzling story of ambition and deception. The production follows the adventures of Frank Abagnale Jr., a daring teenager who chases fame and fortune by posing as a pilot, doctor, and lawyer, all before his 21st birthday. Using his charm and forged checks, Frank lives the high life until FBI agent Carl Hanratty tracks him down across the country. Nominated for 4 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, this spectacular performance celebrates dreams, adventure, and the thrill of staying one step ahead. For tickets and more details, visit slowburntheater.org. Now, this is a really great show. I was lucky enough to see it on Broadway, and I cannot wait to see Slow Burn's production of it. I love their shows, and they do such a great job. And it's a catchy show. It's got chorus, kick lines, and just great music.
Have you ever included any of the songs from the show in your act? Have you ever done a number?
No, but there are some beautiful songs.
You should
beautiful
do
songs.
And it's such a great movie too, and definitely one of the standouts from Spielberg's early 2000s period. And I love Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman's collaborations, especially Hairspray. Sounds like it'll be great.
Yep. Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Jennifer McClain, and let's queer up the USA view. New report shows LGBTQ plus Americans becoming less visible amid political hostility. A new national survey has found that growing numbers of queer Americans, especially transgender and non-binary people, are choosing to become less visible in their communities, citing fear and uncertainty following the 2024 presidential election. This was first reported by the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Abigail Sweitz, executive director of FAIR Wisconsin, says the concern started almost immediately after the election. She received emails asking, quote, "Will I be flagged in a database? Can I safely change my name? Should my family move somewhere safer?" I've been known this has been happening, but when you see it at scale, it adds a different weight, end quote. The Movement Advancement Project, MAP, an independent think tank, surveyed over 1,000 LGBTQ plus adults nationwide. The study, released earlier this month, found that 1 in 4 queer adults and more than half of transgender and non-binary adults have intentionally become less out. Respondents reported suppressing gender expression, moving out of state, or traveling for medical care. 60% of transgender and non-binary adults say that they feel very worried for their safety and that of their families. Still, Sweitz says she sees hope. Quote, "Our trans loved ones deserve our support. We have to stop it, because if we don't stop it now, more people won't be safe from further attacks," end quote. Well, this is disheartening and at the same time unsurprising.
No.
You know, I would like to say, oh, I'm so surprised, but given the climate, the political climate that we're in, it saddens me. But I understand people wanting to be, think of their safety.
They want to protect themselves.
And protect themselves.
Frightening. I mean, if visibility really is a choice, then choose to be seen. Representation matters for the community, and choosing not to be seen can possibly do irreparable damage. Like, how do we come back from that? You have to start coming out all over again. I mean, it just, I don't know. I'm not going in the closet anytime soon. So.
Well, it all goes back to the, we fought, not necessarily myself, but as a general population, we have fought for the rights that we are owed, and they are being taken away. They're being stripped away.
Yeah.
And, I do understand. I understand the feeling of wanting to protect yourself. But like you said, there is a bigger, visibility is important.
Very important, yes. Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Gregg Shapiro, and let's queer up health. Fenway Health halts gender-affirming care for minors amid federal funding threat. Boston's Fenway Health, one of the country's largest LGBTQ plus health providers, has stopped offering hormones and puberty blockers to transgender patients under 19, citing new federal rules tied to its funding status. The clinic said in a letter to clients that it must comply with U.S. Health Resources and Services Administration rules to keep its designation as a federally qualified health center, which allows it to provide care regardless of ability to pay. As the Boston Globe reported, quote, it could lose its FQHC designation and funding if found out of compliance with federal rules, end quote. In the letter, the health provider said, quote, this change in position is a response to a shifting federal landscape that requires us to adapt in order to remain compliant, sustainable, and able to provide healthcare, support, and services to all our patients and the community. The status loss would significantly change our ability to meet the needs of all who rely on us, end quote. Boston Children's Hospital and Boston Medical Center remain options for trans minors seeking care. Still, the move dealt a blow to many families. However, as Lisa Thornton, a mother who moved from Florida for her trans daughter's treatment, said, quote, we will always find a way, end quote. Well, this is yet another example of the lovely Project 2025 playbook doing everything we were warned about. We were warned. And he was still elected, and now they're doing everything they said they would do. I'm sure the folks at the Heritage Foundation are popping champagne corks even as we speak. But one of the most shocking things about this is that it's happening in liberal, progressive, less left-leaning Boston, but it just proves that even they aren't immune to this.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. You know, at least there are options. In Florida, they're going to be threatened with the same withholding of funds, and we don't have the infrastructure for other services.
There's no other alternatives, right?
You know, and that's just terrifying.
Yeah, it is really. It's a very frightening time
and frustrating. I'm sure.
Yes.
For people who just want to live their lives.
Yeah. Right. Get the health care they need.
And puberty blockers after you turn 19, I'm assuming, are not as beneficial.
Right. That's right. There's a reason that it starts earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Jennifer McClain, and let's queer up the USA view. NBC Out is out? LGBTQ advocates ask after network cuts queer coverage. As The Wrap and The Advocate report, NBC News has laid off roughly 150 employees, about 7% of its newsroom, and dissolved its dedicated editorial teams covering Black, Latino, Asian American, and LGBTQ plus communities. The cuts come as NBC reorganizes under a new entity called Versant, separating MSNBC from NBC News. Executives said the move aims to, quote, eliminate overlap and streamline operations, end quote. But the change effectively ends the network's identity-based verticals, NBC Black, NBC Latino, NBC Asian America, and NBC Out. NBC said some staff will be reassigned and that the outlet's reporting will be integrated into broader coverage. But critics fear the result will lead to fewer stories on marginalized voices. Rich Ferraro, GLAAD's chief communications officer, called the decision, quote, part of a dangerous pattern of mainstream media outlets choosing to lose trusted and talented journalists who focus on important LGBTQ news that otherwise is underreported or not reported at all. This is a terrible and poorly timed loss for journalism and for our democracy, end quote. He praised NBC Out's team for reporting that earned the trust of queer Americans and allies. NBC Out, launched in 2016, was the first major broadcast vertical dedicated to LGBTQ plus issues and recently earned a GLAAD Media Award for Joe Yerkaba's story, Friends Remember Next Benedict. The layoffs reflect a broader contraction in U.S. media, where outlets are cutting diversity and identity desks amid economic pressure and backlash against DEI programs. Well, this is awful. And again, I hate to say, not surprising. And like you said, Project 2025, it was all there.
Yeah.
We were all told this is what was going to happen. and how the heck DEI became a bad word. And I don't know. It really aggravates.
It's disgusting. Yeah, it's horrifying.
And you know, it might. What did I just say? It might eliminate some. It's gonna eliminate all of the focus.
Right. I mean, they can integrate it, I suppose, into like broader stories and stuff. But the focus was the important thing.
Yeah.
And as if Barry Weiss, that nutlog at CBS, isn't bad enough for negative queer representation at network TV. And by the way, during Weiss's reign, CBS now stands for Crazy Bitch, Shut Up. Meanwhile, NBC, who did such a great thing with NBC Out, they still haven't apologized for unleashing Drumpf on us when he was the star of The Apprentice. So do you think they actually care about LGBTQ people?
No.
I don't think so. No.
Nope.
NBC, nothing but cowards. Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Gregg Shapiro, and let's clear up gay culture. Climate crisis could displace 1.2 billion. Queer communities among the most at risk. A new report warns that by 2050, an estimated 1.2 billion people could be forced from their homes due to extreme weather and disasters driven by climate change. And experts warn that LGBTQ people will face unique and heightened risks. This is not the most recent warning. 2 years ago, activists from Just Stop Oil briefly halted London's 2023 Pride Parade, protesting fossil fuel sponsors and warning of an unfolding humanitarian emergency. Their statement was clear. The climate crisis, quote, has already killed and made homeless millions of people, including LGBTQ plus people. Due to their position at the margins of society, LGBTQI plus people are especially vulnerable, end quote. Climate campaigner Lily O'Mara emphasized that, quote, hundreds of millions of people are likely to be forced from their homes as conditions become unsuitable for human survival, end quote. Queer people of color in the global south, she said, are among the first to feel the impact. Research underscores these fears. The Williams Institute found that same-sex couples in the U.S. are more likely to live in areas with higher climate risk, coastal regions, and cities already facing extreme weather and limited resources. Globally, LGBTQ plus refugees often encounter discrimination, harassment, and exclusion from aid or asylum systems. Legal scholar Owen Jackson warns that courts and governments often fail to recognize how climate change intersects with persecution. Quote, if courts view climate change as affecting everyone equally, it is more difficult to justify why LGBTQI plus people are uniquely vulnerable, end quote. Both Jackson and O'Mara agreed that the time to act is now, by reforming refugee laws, amplifying queer voices, and tackling the climate crisis head on. Well, we gays do love our coasts, Key West, Fort Lauderdale, Provincetown, Fire Island, Ogunquit, Rehoboth Beach, and that's just the Atlantic coast.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about the Pacific coast or the coast of Lake Michigan, and how it's going to affect Chicago. So I know that there are LGBTQ folks leaving Wilton Manors as we speak, moving to Palm Springs, but I'm just not ready to trade the water for the desert or wildfires or mudslides or earthquakes. I'm going to stay here and learn to swim.
Well, that you could do that. But I think what they're saying too is that although everyone is affected equally, the global population is affected by the climate change, by the disasters. What happens to the population after the disasters is what's not equal.
Right.
Because of fear of persecution in a refugee camp.
Right. Like, what are you doing in my place?
Right. Exactly. And that's absolute fact. Where you think, well, everybody who lives there is going to suffer the same.
Yeah.
They may suffer the same devastation, but they're not going to be treated equally in the resettling and the restructuring and the help.
Right, they'll be less welcome because it's a limited pool they have to draw from.
Exactly.
For the people who survived it. So
exactly.
Frightening.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Jennifer McClain, and let's queer up politics. New poll finds majority of MAGA oppose gay conversion therapy. A new YouGov.economist poll reveals that most Americans, including a majority of MAGA Republicans, oppose gay conversion therapy, even as the U.S. Supreme Court considers a case that could strike down state bans on the practice. According to the poll, conducted October 10th through 13th, 59% of U.S. adults support bans on conversion therapy, while only 20% oppose them and 22% remain unsure. 60% of Republicans, 59% of Democrats, and 57% of independents back such bans. The survey focused on attempts to, quote, to change a person's sexual orientation from gay to straight, end quote. Though not addressed in this poll, conversion therapy also targets gender identity, aiming to make trans people cisgender, a practice widely discredited by medical experts. The poll also revealed that only 11% of respondents said they thought conversion therapy works. But 27% still believe, quote, someone who is homosexual can change their sexual orientation if they choose to do so, end quote. Just 17% said gay people should try to change. The poll coincides with Childs v. Salazar, a Supreme Court case involving Colorado therapist Kaylee Childs, who claims her state's ban violates her free speech and religious rights. She says she wants to help minors live a life consistent with the Bible. Shannon Mittner of the National Center for Lesbian Rights warned, quote, it would be so hypocritical for the court to say states can ban health care for transgender youth, but they can't restrict conversion therapy for young people, end quote. Currently, 22 states and Washington, D.C. prohibit conversion therapy, protections that may now hang in the balance. Well, that's a lot of numbers.
Yes.
That's a lot of numbers. But it seems that, like a lot of things that I'm seeing in the news, the majority of the country believes that conversion therapy is wrong. Yeah. And yet we have cases before the Supreme Court challenging that. Yeah. And that to me is just as frustrating and aggravating as a lot of these other stories we're talking about today.
Absolutely. Well, smack my ass and call me Kushner. 1% more Republicans than Democrats support conversion therapy bans? 60 to 59? How? I'm trying to make sense of that. Okay. I'm going to need to lay down with a cold compress on my forehead for a while, but conversion therapy is grooming, which means that crazy straight religious people are groomers. I'm making myself clear. We don't groom, but conversion therapy is a form of grooming. They are the groomers. We do not groom.
Yes.
Except for our personal grooming.
Personal grooming's different.
That's very different, yes.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gay culture. Pink Pony Club gay bar backtracks after backlash over boys only policy. A Sydney nightclub inspired by Chappell Roan's hit Pink Pony Club is facing fierce backlash for calling itself a, quote, boys-only gay bar. Despite Roan's song celebrating a place where boys and girls can all be queens, venue owner Michael Lewis told Gay Sydney News he wants the clientele to be, quote, 90% plus gay boys, end quote. Critics called the move exclusionary and untrue to Roan's inclusive message. After days of online criticism and allegations the club was blocking dissenters, the bar's Instagram was wiped, now promising a, quote, new name coming soon. Still, as one commenter put it, quote, imagine renaming your club instead of being more inclusive, end quote. Well, that just says it. I'd rather be closed than be inclusive.
Yeah, it's crazy. It sounds like the kind of business decision you'd make with a degree from Trump University if they had a Sydney campus.
There you go. There you go.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gay culture. Answering the big question, when should you have sex? In an article for Rage Monthly, California psychotherapist Michael Kimmel answers a question from clients re-entering the dating world. Is sex a good way to judge boyfriend potential? A Palm Springs reader wrote, quote, I think that having sex with a guy is a good way to screen him, end quote. But Kimmel cautions that, quote, making sex the most important element in a potential partner screening system rarely works, end quote. He explains that for many couples, sex got even better as they got to know and trust each other. Kimmel urges readers to be honest about what they really want. He says, quote, if what you really want is just to have fun, then go to it. But know what you're truly seeking, end quote. Well, as the kids say, you do you, or him, or her, or them.
I mean, when should you have sex? I say as often as possible.
Twice daily, 3 times a day.
LGBTQ, 1 minute news. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. South Florida's Care Resource hosts Vital United for Care, U4C, Health Fair, November 8th. The United for Care Health Fair is back, offering a day of free care and community connection for Miami's LGBTQ residents. Care Resource proudly presents the event on Saturday, November 8th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Jose Marti Park. Guests can enjoy health and wellness screenings, HIV testing, flu shots, and help navigating healthcare coverage. With food, beverages, and giveaways included, the fair promises both fun and vital support. For details, visit careresource.org. Boy, can't be more timely for health insurance.
I mean, and the way things are being cut in other places, the fact that this is being available to people is amazing. Keep up the good and vital work, Care Resource.
An excellent resource. That is LGBTQ 1 minute news. Let's queer up the world view. Australia bars far-right commentator Candace Owens over fears of inciting hate. Far-right U.S. commentator and podcast host Candace Owens has lost her appeal to enter Australia after the country's High Court upheld the government's decision to deny her visa. Owens originally planned to visit in October 2024, but Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke ruled she failed the character test, citing her, quote, extremist and inflammatory comments towards Muslim, Black, Jewish, and LGBTQIA+ communities, which generate controversy and hatred, end quote. Owens appealed the decision, arguing it violated her right to free speech. But the court rejected that claim, noting Australia protects only political speech from prosecution. Owens must now cover the government's legal costs following the failed appeal. Oh, poor thing. Good. She should cover their costs.
I mean, imagine failing the character test. I mean, how can she even, how can she look at herself in the mirror, but probably cracks every time she does. LGBTQ 1 minute news. Let's queer up trans rights. Obama urges empathy in trans rights debate as Trump doubles down on anti-trans agenda. Former U.S. President Barack Obama is urging empathy and understanding in conversations about trans rights. Speaking on Mark Maron's WTF podcast, Obama reflected on how his old-fashioned values shaped his approach to discussing trans issues during his presidency. Obama said, quote, if I talked about trans issues, I wasn't talking down to people and saying, oh, you're a bigot. I'd say, you know what? It's tough being a teenager. Let's treat all kids decently. But why would we want to see kids bullied or shamed? What if it was our kid? End quote. Obama's comments come as President Donald Trump, now in his second term, escalates anti-trans policies and rhetoric, including recently mocking trans people while meeting Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, whose child is non-binary. I miss Barack Obama. I miss Michelle Obama. Please come back, you guys. Please come back.
I can't believe Donald Trump would mock somebody.
We should mock Donald Trump.
I mean, just look at them. Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ and ally community. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Jennifer McClain, and on behalf of the LGBTQ reporter, the anchor of Queer News Tonight, Gregg Shapiro, we see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery. Be transformative and queer. Good night.